Bandana Dee, Bandana Dee, Bandana Waddle Dee. If you've been with this channel for a while, you know that I tend to say this dude's name a lot. But why is that? There's a lot of reasons really, but to put it bluntly, I just can't help but like the little guy. His courageous personality really sets him apart from the rest of his Waddle Dee brethren, which makes for a really good underdog character that I feel the Kirby series hasn't had. Also, his mastery of the spear, as well as other weapons like the parasol, yes, this guy uses an umbrella as a weapon, really go to show how much he wants to prove that he isn't just your average mook. These are some of the reasons why I want to see Bandana Dee make that dream come true in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And I'm not the only one who wants that too, as lots of people out there want to see him break it big because of the reasons I just said, because he's so cute and cuddly, or whatever reason they might have. Of course, whenever a character becomes a desired pick for Smash, they tend to go under fire from a lot of people, and poor Bandana Dee here is no exception. That's why I decided to make this video that may or may not become a series. A lot of people tend to turn their heads when looking at Bandana Dee, and to wonder why people actually want this Goomba with a hat, instead of somebody cool and badass like Dante or Bubsy. Wait, what? Anyway, they tend to rag on Bandana Dee without looking into what this guy can really do and how important he really is. I'm here, as his self-proclaimed #1 fan, to educate people on this matter. This video is meant for those who don't really get all the hype behind this guy, as I want to ease all the fights that tend to go on between people hating on Bandana Dee and as well as people getting defensive. Disclaimer, this is not me telling you to like Bandana Dee. If you don't like the character even after watching this video, that's okay. As long as you know why others do want him and why he's a better pick than he lets on, then I succeeded in this video. If you guys have any ideas for any character that I should defend next, leave a comment down below. I have my eyes set on someone who's even more contentious than Bandana Dee here. Anyway, I've dragged this on long enough. Time for me to speak in defense of Bandana Waddle Dee. Now, this video isn't meant to be a full-on moveset concept. There's already plenty of videos out there covering that. This segment is more so just meant to answer the question, why would Bandana Dee be a good fit? Which is often asked by a lot of outsiders. People tend to say that Bandana Dee's moveset would just be a copy-pasted from his moveset in Kirby Star Allies, where he only used his spear, and say that he'd just be boring. Believe it or not, I actually agree. It would be pretty underwhelming if Hat Goomba here only used his spear. But there's one key detail these people are overlooking. There's a shit ton more this guy's capable of! His Spear Master will provide a unique fighting style that Smash hasn't seen yet. And hang on, I can already see you typing, Byleth barely counts as a spear user. She only uses it in like 4 moves, and even then 2 of those 4 moves can just be passed off as sword swings. Anyway, Bandana Dee's Parasol can dish out water-based attacks and projectiles, and since the only water characters we have are Squirtle, Greninja, and maybe Corrin, his inclusion would be even more beneficial. Plus, he can also draw from abilities that the rest of his Waddle Dee kin can use, like the Beam Scepter, riding vehicles, or those pig things that I don't know the name of.
Wait a minute, Bandana Dee never uses the Beam Scepter in the games, so why would he use it here?
Well, riddle me this. Since when did Meta Knight ever have 4 wings? That's right, never. Shotgun can do whatever the hell he wants with his characters, which is why I'm being pretty imaginative here. Anyway, Bandana Dee could also have stuff like Waddle Dee summoning, or apple juice healing, or whatever. That apple juice part may sound random, but he actually has his own song where he mentions apple juice as a source of nutrition so he can train to be strong like Kirby. A, that's freaking adorable, and B, this cements his status in the Kirby series as a main character. Not only was a remix of this song used in Kirby Battle Royale, which can basically be considered Bandana Dee's game considering his role in it, but Bandy here also consistently appeared in pretty much every post-Sakurai Kirby game. Heck, it's even strongly hinted that the Waddle Dee from Kirby 64 is Bandana Dee before he got promoted to DDD's right-hand man, so his ties to the series overall are deeper than you'd think. You may be wondering what this information has to do with his importance in Smash. So with the information I gave you, allow me to tell you why this guy can fix a certain underlying issue in Smash. A dilemma in Smash Ultimate? I hear you ponder. Jake, what dilemma could Smash Ultimate have that Bandana Waddle Dee of all people could possibly fix? Well, my dear sweet viewer, I'm glad you asked. The issue at hand lies in the representation of the Kirby series. At first glance, it doesn't look like there's any issue with the Kirby series. Sure, it only has 3 characters out of a vast selection of good picks, but there's other series in Smash who have it worse, like Sonic. There's a decent amount of songs, stages, heck, even a boss in the form of marks. However, you may have noticed that a lot of the Kirby content in Smash feels samey. The dilemma I'm talking about is that most of the Kirby content in Smash Ultimate is from the games that Sakurai has directly worked on. Those being Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby Superstar, and Kirby Air Ride. These 4 games have gotten stages, remixes, and the whole shebang. However, the other 20 plus games that Kirby's had since then only had a few songs, some spirits, and, well, yeah, that's it. The last modern Kirby song to get remixed for Smash was the Squeak Squad theme, back in Brawl. Don't get me wrong, I'm not upset that we have the entire Air Ride soundtrack in Ultimate, but it is criminal that Star Allies only has like 1 song. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse is an example of a modern Kirby game that has a soundtrack consisting of nothing but bangers! And not 1 song from that game is present. The stages are also kinda weak, with 3 stages being based off green greens. There's so many more cool places like DDD's Castle or Another Dimension, or the Stage of Partners from Kirby Fighters 2. I want you to follow my reasoning here. Modern Kirby is heavily underrepresented in Smash. Bandana Dee has appeared consistently in modern Kirby and made a name for himself in those games. You see what I'm getting at here? Bandana Waddle Dee making it into Smash would be a guaranteed fix to this modern Kirby dilemma, as his first appearance as a main character was Kirby's Return to Dreamland. He'd be able to bring plenty of well-needed songs in his Challenger Pack, as well as some spirits that are missing like Dark Meta Knight, and a wide variety of stages for modern Kirby like the options that I mentioned earlier. A huge thank you to the YouTube channel, The Dexys Show, as I learned the details of this dilemma through one of his videos. I'll link it in the description. Anyway, you now know how Bandana Dee can fix Smash. All that's left is for him to make it in. Come on, Sakurai, make our dreams come true. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, and because I can still see some of you there being a little skeptical, let's hear some of my ideas for what Bandana Waddle Dee can do. No, but wait a minute, Jake. I thought you said this wasn't gonna be a moveset video. Yeah, I guess I did say that. What I mean to say is that I won't be covering every last possible move that a Smash character has for Waddle Dee here. I'm just gonna say some moves that he could have that I thought of. And we're gonna hop right into it because I think this first one is a real doozy. For some background, I was trying to think of a way to set Waddle Dee apart from everyone else, and I immediately zoomed in on the elements from Star Allies. Most people would probably give him a neutral B that allows him to switch between elements, but that's too much like Shulk. So I thought about it for a bit, and then I had a brain blast. Make it a reactionary counter. You're probably thinking, Jake, all counters are reactionary. I know, let me explain. So Bandana Dee is gonna have a counter, right? I'm basing it off the staff abilities counter. I know Bandana Dee never actually uses a staff, but A, a spear is pretty dang close enough, and B, he has gone on record to be able to spin his spear similarly to the staff counter with his throw in Fighters 2. Anyway, I was thinking the counter would come out as quickly as Incineroar's, but it wouldn't last as long. And it would also deal fixed damage like Greninja's. However, when he gets hit by an elemental move, like Mario's Fireball for example, he'll gain that element. This would slightly buff the damage on all of his spear-based moves, and more importantly, would provide some devastating added effects to his specials. The elements available in Star Allies would be the ones that Bandana Dee here can use. Wait, this isn't Bandana Dee. There we go. Jokes aside, to use fire, ice, water, and electric, he just have to counter a move with that property. But for wind, it's a little different. If Bandana Dee gets hit with a wind box while countering, he'd get the wind element, which would change his moveset the most by altering his spear throwing angles and buffing his recovery. This potentially elemental counter would add a whole new depth to choosing your character, at least against Bandana Dee. You may want to use Bowser against him because you can kill him early since he'd be a lightweight. But if you use your Flame Breath, he could easily counter it and get buffed. Do you risk the Flame Breath's stupid damage output, or do you forego that option for the rest of the fight? This def is debatably even more notable than Steve getting different blocks depending on the stage you choose. I'm not done either. As for his down B, he'd use the Ground Thrust. Being added to his moveset in Star Allies on the third wave of DLC, this move covers some considerable ground. Think of it like a Falcon Kick except it's multi-hit. That's not all to this move though, as not only would it get buffed by elements, but in the games, it has this nifty little mechanic where if you hold the input down, he can immediately follow up with a Waddle Copter, or what his up B would obviously be if he were a character. He'd also be able to jump out of it, of course. I say he'd have other weird cancels into other moves as well as this one by holding the input, as I feel it fits his style. Another idea, since Bandana Dee's jab is pretty good in the games, I feel like in Smash he'd reflect that, with his jab actually being able to kill. Think Bowser Jr.'s jab, only with longer range and a tiny bit less kill power. I was also thinking his final smash could be the Megaton Punch, where if you manage to perfectly align the quick time events, then it's an instant KO. I know that sounds stupid, but for one, Zelda's final smash exists, and for two, it'd be really hard to get perfect inputs on all of them, so don't worry. I would say more, but this video is long enough, and since I only really discussed a few moves and still had this much to say, I think I got my point across that Bandana Waddle Dee is pretty dang worthy of an invitation to Smash. It's been fun, but it's time to wrap things up here. Before I wrap this video up, I'm gonna get one thing out of the way. No, Bandana Dee is not just some hat Goomba. I know I joked about it during this video. I'm talking to those who are legitimately using that as an argument. Piranha Plant disproved that old saying long ago. Anyway, I think that concludes my first potential episode of the In Defense Of series. Again, leave a comment if there's any other characters out there that you want me to defend. Bandana Waddle Dee is a very special character for me. Kirby's Return to Dreamland is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's also where the dynamic of him, Kirby, Dee, and Bandana all started. It just pains my heart knowing that he's stuck separated from the rest of the gang. It's like Mario, Peach, and Bowser without Luigi. It's just not right. And for a more realistic comparison, it's like when that one really close friend of yours moves away. Shit does not feel good, man. Again, just want to clarify that if you still don't like him after this video, that's okay. It's just important to know that pretty much every character is deserving of a spot in Ultimate. For example, I may not want Jonesy from Fortnite and Smash, but I can't deny he deserves a spot. King K. Rool, someone who hasn't appeared in a game since Mario Super Sluggers, got added in simply because people wanted him. Every character is wanted by someone. Regardless of whether you like someone or not, bullying someone else for liking them isn't going to do anybody any favors. You don't see me doing that to Big Tits McGee over here. Wait, you mean Sephiroth isn't the newest DLC character? Oh, it's Pyra and Mithra? I'm just gonna pretend I didn't say anything. You can joke about the character all you want. It keeps things fun. Lord knows we do that with every new character we get in the balance patches. Anyhow, thank you for watching this video to the end. I really appreciate it. It's people like you that make me all the more happy to make videos. Feel free to like this video if you thought that my points were adequate, and be sure to subscribe. Anyhow, with all the reasons stated, That's why Bandana Dee is a worthy addition to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. He wants to prove himself, and if he ever gets in, people will see how he can. They and everyone else will know that Bandana Waddle Dee is the best candidate out there.